Hi, welcome to PetLoss Tuesday. Pardon my Frenchie. This is me, 143. If you don't have a friend, you have one now. Wow, my hair is really on top of it today. How are you? How are you? Welcome to PetLoss Tuesday, 8:30 tonight. I am like really off kilter on today. How is everybody doing today on PetLoss Tuesday? 8:30 is the new time. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I hope everybody remembered we are pushing it back to 8:30 instead of 7 o'clock. So we're 8:30 tonight instead of 7. Welcome, beautiful moderator. Welcome. I know today is a heartbreaking day, heartbreaking day, shocking day, right? Shocking day. We will get into all that soon. But big day for everybody. Big day, big shocking day. I know. Yeah. Oh yeah. Hey, Michelle. Hey. Hi. Welcome. Yeah, I was hoping everybody kind of remembered that we switched it. I know, right? Yeah. I did it. I was trying to represent today. And in the heart of the loss, along with the pink. I went with the bright pink today. Big hair, bright pink. Trying to do. Oh, Dave and Violet are there. Hello. Yeah, I went with the bright pink, big hair. Yeah, I was trying to go all in today in light of all the news. It was, and I got my coat of many colors bear behind me too. That my son got for me at Dolly Wood today, or Wood this summer when he went. So yeah, it was so shocking. Great, she was 80 years old, but still, I'm not gonna lie, that's still to me is pretty young. 80s to me still young. It's people live to 100 years old. Betty White was 100 years old. And she still looked really good. I know that she was having some health issues this year. But still, she still looked really good. She still was, doing a lot of her like road shows and so forth. So, she was still looking, pretty good. I know that again, she had some health issues and all that stuff going on, but still, still was looking, pretty decent. She opened up her truck stop and all that good stuff. So, wasn't too shabby, from what, we could see. So, we went to Dollywood last year and, we had a great time at her, at the Dollywood and the amusement park. And hello, Patty. Hello. So we had a great time at the amusement park. Hot. It was very, very hot because we went in July, which is around the moderator's birthday. So don't recommend going in July because it was very, very hot. And again, it was a amusement park. So, you're in the heat and walking around and, that's just never fun. So, yeah, that's what, right? So, yeah, I saw that. And they were together for like ever, like for so many years. And that's what I was telling the co-producer. I said, she spent all those years taking care of him. And then like, I guess his health declined. And hello, Adam. His health declined. And it's like it sucked the life out of her too. So, just that's horrible. It's just, I know, right? It's like the shock that was heard around the world. I know, because even like when we heard about it at work, it was like everyone was just shocked. It's everybody, and that's what I was saying earlier today. It's like it was one of those things where she was a dog lover, and I had a fun fact about that too that I just pulled up before I came on, and was this I had a fun fact about her. Let me grab it here. It was she had in the 1980s, she had a Boston Terrier. Her and her husband had a Boston Terrier. And so, yeah, the moderator said that she found photos with her and a Frenchie. So the Frenchie was not hers. So she had a Boston Terrier with her husband that was in the 80s. They owned a Boston Terrier, but recently she had pictures with a French Bulldog, who was her god dog, and that is her manager's dog. So she kind of like took care of that dog. She really grew attached to his French Bulldog. So she spends a lot of time with that French Bulldog. So, and she, grew attached to that one. So she didn't technically have a dog. She just grew attached to that one because, her and her manager are together a lot because, with them being on the road and all that good stuff. So, but yeah, so the picture with the French Bulldog is her manager's French Bulldog. So I thought that was kind of neat that she has a French Bulldog in her life, right? And I always say too, I like the fact that when we went to, come on, Koki, you want to come up here, mommy? Come on. I always say too, like when we went to Dollywood last year. Oh, here comes jealous. When we went to Dollywood last year, you want to come over? They have doggy wood on site. So they have a facility there where it's actually on the grounds of the amusement park where you can board your dogs. And so we were able to take the girls and board them there, and then I could go in and out of the amusement park and check on them and take them for walks and so forth, and just make sure that they were okay during the day while we were riding rides and all that good stuff. So, which is what I did. Now I will say that there was one part of that trip that scared me a little bit with regards to the very end part of it, which the moderator can attest to. Yeah, the moderator says, "Don't remind me." It was just at the very end. It was at the very end. They were very, very secure. They were a very secure place. However, when I went to pick up the girls, you had to sign in and out whenever you came in and out to pick up the dogs. And when I went to pick them up, I looked at the sign out sheet and somebody, oh no, somebody told me a story where she bought a dog at the shelter and she heard that they were going to be put down. Oh no. Well, when I went to go pick them, yeah, right. So when I went to go pick them up, I looked at the sign out sheet and somebody had signed them out, like took them out. And if I could have ever like 0 to 10 lost my mind, I thought that was probably going to be the moment. And I think probably the fear of God like went over the moderator quickly, because I was like, what do you mean somebody signed my dogs out? And the lady quickly probably panicked as well. But it seemed the person that came in before us accidentally signed on the wrong line, accidentally signed on my line and not on the wrong line. So needless to say, my dogs were, yes, my Coco was just fine. And so was Rosie. But they probably would have kept Coco. They would have returned Rosie quite quickly. So, but yeah, it was a very nice. It was they they would have definitely kept Coco. They would have returned Rosie, just because she's, a little spitfire, needless to say. So, but yeah, it was a very nice trip. It was a very, very nice trip. Um, and it was very hot. It was very hot. That is the only thing I do kind of regret about taking them. That was before Coco's surgery, with regards to them opening up her nose. So, she just with her breathing issues and stuff, she just didn't do well in the heat. We did the next day. We found that great pet daycare there. So that was nice. So I did find a great pet daycare where they could spend um, there, and they played in a pet daycare all day in a very nice, you were so beautiful, in a very nice pet daycare where they could play all day with other dogs and just have a great time. So, and air conditioned and all that good stuff. So they, we could go all day and they could play with other dogs and swim and all sorts of good things. So it ended up working out in their favor, and then we had a good time. So I highly recommend that if you are going on vacation with your dogs, to find a really nice local in town pet daycare. That way they can enjoy themselves. You can enjoy yourselves, and they don't have to stay locked up in the hotel room or anything like that. So, anyways, that's my 2 cents of it all. But yeah, that's unfortunately, like I said, the shock, I guess, that was heard around the world today is the loss of national treasure, right? National treasure. Although I will say, I did bring this up as well, that that song, her famous song Jolene. You know what? She, I never understood that song. She can have them, right? Just take them. Jolene, just take them. If he wants to go with Jolene, just take them. That's why is she fighting him? Take him, Jolene. You want him, take him, right? That's all I'm going to say about that. Why is she fighting Jolene? Jolene, you want him, take him. Get out of here. Go get yourself somebody else. You don't need him. If he's going to go with Jolene, go with Jolene. Just go find yourself somebody else. Right? I mean, that's my thought on it. Go find yourself somebody else. There's 50 million men in the world. Go find a good one. So he's going to take off with Jolene. She can have him. That's my thoughts on that. Don't waste your time with them. So that's all I'm going to say on part of my Frenchie about that. Anyways, moving on. Especially if you're Dolly Parton, she's got tons of money. What is she worried about? She's got nothing to worry about. She's beautiful. She don't have to fight for a man. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say on that one. But we're on PetLoss Tuesday. We're not on Frenchie Friday. I can give that opinion, I guess, on Frenchie Friday, right? So, real quick update on the. Right? Yeah, right. I mean, why are you going to sit there and fight over some dude, right? I mean, if Jolene wants to stroll into town and steal your guy, then fine, take him, take his money, take his boat, car, whatever the hell he's got, take him. Good, go. Don't let the door hit you in the ass. All right, on the update on the petition, things are going well. It was kind of interesting yesterday. We had a local magazine is coming into town, and they were supposed to be. I thought they were going to our local library, and so I, yeah, right. Shots. Jolene's fine. She's just doing her thing. If your guys is the one, if your guy's the one that's going to go after her, whatever, go. Jolene's fine. She's just being Jolene. She's not doing nothing. More power to her if she's beautiful. So anyway, so I thought that the magazine place was going to come to the library because what they do is every year they go to one of the places in town and they ask for ideas of the community to put into the local magazine, which I talked about in my previous episode. Well, I went there yesterday to drop off the information. So interestingly enough, when I went to do that yesterday, I was running real late and I got out of my car at the library. And when I got out of my car, I happened to run into this wonderful lady who was in her car next to me, my car, and we started chatting it up. And like I said, I'm very blessed with doing this channel because I run into some of the most wonderful people. And so her and I started talking, and I was telling her about the channel, and just like I said, just a wonderful, wonderful person. And I hope she tuned in tonight. But wonderful person. And in talking and so forth, I realized that the magazine wasn't going to be at the library. They were going to be at City Hall. So I had to turn around and go to City Hall and, whatever. So anyways, that got taken care of. But it was interesting because in talking with this person, she had asked me a couple really, really interesting questions with regards to the channel. Some things that I hadn't really pondered before. And so when, she was asking kind of some good points, and, some, like I said, some of the things I never really asked, or I was asked for, she was, because she was asking me oh, do I do this as my full-time job? And I'm like, no, not at all. I love doing this. I wish I could do this as my full-time job, but no, I can't. And then she asked well, what do you do to take care of yourself? And I'm like, nobody's ever asked me that before. I'm like, I don't know. Yeah. I'm like, I do, tons of things, on top of that. And she's like, well, what do you offer people? I'm like, well, I offer them, resources and a safe space and a friend when, the whole world seems to have walked out on them. And I offer care and compassion and show them, that, what it's like to feel normal, especially when the whole world is telling them that, it's the opposite of feeling normal. I'm like, there's a lot that you can offer people, especially when it's, disenfranchised grief. I said, especially resources. And, this is such a taboo subject, which is what, we're trying to turn around. And, people don't realize that that's one of the most, the most beautiful part of, a lot of people don't see the beauty in pet loss grief, right? You think and I would say, she asked me too, she's like, do a lot of people from work tune into your show or family and friends? And I say, honestly, I said, it's kind of funny. I said, no. I said, because they'll tell me it's too sad. And I said, even my best friend, she jokes and says she doesn't tune in on Tuesdays because it's too sad. And I said, but the funny thing is, I said, that's there's a beautiful part of grief. And there's a beautiful part of this channel. And the thing is the typical saying is that hurt people. But in actuality, it's hurt people will actually help other wounded people. And that's the beauty of that. And that's where the beautiful part of grief comes in, is when hurt people start healing, they will turn around and help other people that are hurting. And that's the beauty that I see in pet loss and grief. So when people come to group, people come to this channel, when I've been doing this for 13 years, and people, when they would essentially, I don't want to say graduate out of, when their healing journey was, when they were past kind of their healing journey, or at a point where maybe they didn't need the meetings anymore, they would continue to still come to still help other people. And so they were essentially, the ones that were at the lowest points of their life, now to a point where they were helping the people that were at the lowest points of their life get to the point where they could be at a stable point in their life, so that those people could then help the people that were at the lowest point of their life. And if you can't tell me that that is not something beautiful, then I don't know what is. Like, and that's what I love about this whole thing. Like, to me, like, that is like, I don't know, like, it's grateful. I'm grateful for it. It's like, if you can see, if you can see like your fellow man helping your fellow man, do something like that, again, through some of their, worst parts, deepest parts of their lives. I mean, that's a beautiful thing, without sometimes even realizing that they're doing it. And to strangers, it's not to their family, it's not, to their friends. These are complete strangers helping other people, and it's for nothing. It's not for money. It's not for anything. They're doing it out of the fact that they know that they've been there. And I just, like I said, I think that that's what, that's what makes me do it, is the fact that I see it. And it's like, if that doesn't give you faith in humanity, I don't know what does. And it's just, I mean, that's what keeps people, engaged and coming back. And that's why I fight so hard for, like, the state of Ohio to recognize the bereavement, because I don't want people hiding anymore. If that gets recognized, and if we get it to a federal level and it gets recognized all over, and but we have to get it to a point where people aren't, sloughing it off and saying, well, that's not important. Well, goddamn right, it's important, but we have to get them to recognize that it's important. Sorry, Dad, I didn't mean to cuss. But like, I know he gets mad when I cuss, but it's true. It's like, and that's what they think. They think, oh, well, it's not important enough. Yes, it is. It is. But they don't want to admit that it's important, because they think that it's a money thing. And it's not a money thing, because if they look at how I've fiscally broke it down to incorporate the way that it'll impact employers and employees, and it's a healthy balance, then they would realize that it benefits both sides, and it actually will impact, voters. So if they're smart enough, they'd read it. So anyways, good thing is I'm kind of pushy. Some would say anyways. So anyways, but that's the long and the short of that answer. I will say that I looked today on the comments on the one video that I did for the hospice video, where we talked about where there was, hospice for pets. Somebody left a comment on there and said that this really long comment, and it totally broke my heart. I saw it today, and I don't know if they're watching tonight. I hope they are, and if they're not, I hope they watch a replay. But they said that they wish that they had seen the video back when they had a cat that was going through. They had a cat that was going through, end of life, and they felt that they were rushed, and they didn't know that anything like hospice existed, and they were like basically had, I think it was gabapentin or something, some pain medication that they were, basically using a little bit at a time in order to, slow dosing to keep their cat, as kind of pain-free as possible to length of, just basically kind of do hospice on their own as long as they could. But anyways, the cat ended up going into cardiac arrest and passing, and they just wish that they knew that there was a hospice option, and they just felt that their cat suffered, and she just felt horrible and so forth, and just guilty and all this stuff. And the only thing that I want to say, and like I said, I hope either she's on or watches this, is my thing is this is to remember that the decision that you made was the right decision, because that's the information that you had at the time. You had no other information at the time. The information that you have now is not any of the information that you had at the time. So what you did was right, because that is what you had. You can't beat yourself up over information that's given to you after the fact. You can't go back in time, and just like the book theory, you can't read the end of the story and then go back and beat the character up for the information that you knew at the end of the story. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. And even if you had that information, even if you went through hospice care, it doesn't mean that you would have had the same result. We can go through back and forth, and we can do the, play God kind of situation. Coulda, woulda, shoulda. We can play those mental games with ourselves all day long. Bottom line is we don't know. We don't know. Hi, Rosie. We don't know if cardiac arrest would have still been in the final plan. All we know at this point is that unfortunately that's what happened. And you did the best that you could with the information that you had. It wasn't the ending that you planned for. It's not the perfect ending, but it's something that you have to kind of come to peace with at this point, unfortunately. So, but in the future, you do know that you have options now, and that's the important thing. And if anything, that's I always say that there's a positive in every situation. So maybe that's your positive. Positive for life is that going forward, if you do ever choose to bring another family member in your life, that in the future that could be something that you have options now. For something in the future. So that, to me, that's a positive for you, that, yeah, I do have options. I won't ever be faced with a situation like that, a horrible situation like that again. So, but yeah, I do feel for her that she had to go through that and have those feelings. So, definitely light a candle on that one, towards the end too. So, but anyways, so we got some of the heavy stuff out of the way. But yeah, so how's everybody else feeling in the chat? Good, bad, ugly? Any losses? Anything going on this week? Yes, no, maybe so. I lose anybody? Everybody's sleeping. I know it's 9 o'clock. Rosie's eating her bone. I have the hiccups, evidently. I lost everybody. Everybody fell asleep. I may move them back to 8 o'clock, because I know 8:30 was kind of a stretch. I moved my times for work, so I might move them to 8 o'clock, because I didn't know what time I was going to get home from work. Jesus. I will say that I got my my book off to my illustrator, and I'm so excited because they started doing some of my pictures for my book, and I will show you a couple sneak peeks of it. But so far so good. So far so good. I'm so excited. They're coming out really, really good for for what I'm hoping for. So hopefully by the end of September, I will have a full children's book out. So more to come on that, but so far so good. Everything is just looking lovely, lovely, lovely. So we shall see. But yeah, I know, right? The artwork is just coming out really, really spectacular. Really, really spectacular. She's doing such a nice job on it. Such a nice job so far. So, but the one of the questions that was brought to me this week, because we talked about hospice last time. Coco Chanel, one of the questions that was brought to me last time was with regards to hospice. Somebody asked about the different types of options for like burials and prices, either like cremations, burials, different kinds of like different dedication memorial stuff. So I pulled some information, like prices and just different things that you can do that maybe people, oh no, you're fine. So there's some different options that people have not thought of. And these were some interesting things that maybe you have not thought of, and instead of just like the traditional cremation. I thought I'd pull it because some people had asked about talking about some of these different options, because some people didn't know about hospice. And so they had thought about, like, is there anything different than, or maybe eco-friendly compared to the traditional cremation? So I pulled some options. What are options for pet burials and prices? What are you doing? Oh, good. Coco. I don't know what you're doing. Good. What are the options for pet burial and prices? The cost of pet funerals generally range from $50 to over $2,000, heavily depending on whether you choose cremation or a formal cemetery burial. So we could start like cheaper. So, no, Coco. Communal cremation. So if anybody knows what communal cremation, that is going to be your baseline cremation. That's usually your most budget-friendly cremation. That goes from $50 to $150. That is where your pet is cremated. It's usually for people that are more on a budget. That's when your pet is just cremated alongside other animals, and that's where the ashes are not returned to you. Again, that's usually when somebody's more on a budget. And Coco, that's when they're more on a budget, where they just have to take their pet to, if their pet is euthanized, and then they leave them at the vet, and they're just cremated, and they will send them a card and just say that they were, cremated and buried, with a bunch of other animals. But they're not returned to them. And normally they will say, like, I don't know, they'll give kind of a location. You can't go to the location or anything, but they'll typically give you a location. But it's the cheapest option. It's usually like, I want to say sometimes even like $50 to maybe $75. It's pretty cheap. But it's normally for people that are like on a budget, so forth. They do have individual / partition cremation, $100. $300 is pretty steep. That's where multiple pets are in the chamber but separated, and you receive your pet's ashes back. That's normally done through your vet. That's pretty typical. There's private cremation. That is, your pet is cremated completely alone. This guarantees your ashes are returned, belonging solely to your pet. Where if you do the first way, sometimes you can get other pets' ashes in there, which honestly, how are you going to know, right? Um, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if people are going to sift through them anyways, but like, I mean, you could get your other, somebody else's pets in there. Usually on the private cremation, if you go through a funeral home, you're guaranteed, like we go through a private funeral home. Now, I will say I go through a private funeral home for ours. Ours, when we go through a private funeral home compared to going through the vet's office, it's cheaper than going through the vet's office for some reason. And they actually will pick up, um, they'll pick up from the vet and, or they'll pick up from our house and then they take them there and then, they cremate and then we pick them up from there. Uh, and like I said, it's typically cheaper than when they pick them up at the vet and then they, do it from there. So I don't know. And you would think it's more expensive doing it at a funeral home, but it's not. It's cheaper at our funeral home. So I don't know, how it is, where everybody else is, but it's typically cheaper from our funeral home. Formal cemetery burial is more expensive due to your land and your maintenance fees. You can do a communal burial, $120. Your pet is buried and sharing a grave with other animals. There's no markers, visitation rights, but there's visitation rights. So they'll be buried with a bunch of other animals. You could do a private burial plot that's $400 to $1,500. A dedicated individual plot in the pet cemetery. Pet caskets are between $500 and $1,000. Simple carbon fiber plastic shells are cheap. Wooden caskets cost more. Headstones, markers, $500 to $1,000. Let's see. Viewing and memorial services, $700 to $1,000. Fees for funeral directors, staff, using the chapel to say goodbye. If you witness the cremation, that's $75 to $200. I know people do that. That allows you to be present in the facility. There's a lot of people that do the witness to cremation. That is something that's allowed. Let's see. This one isn't huge by us. Where, like, if they have a home pickup or transport, so if your pet passes at your house, they, like here, they'll pick up, in Ohio, they'll pick up and transport from your house. They don't charge you. I guess maybe some places they do. Maybe you could tell me that. Has anybody ever had a pet picked up at your house and taken from your house? Do they charge you for that? They don't typically do that here. Let's see. I looked up. Okay, so now we're getting into some other details here. Oh, I wanted to show you this because these were kind of interesting. I printed off, like, so when I was looking at like burial prices, like you can get burial prices with your viewing and everything up to like $2,000. And you're thinking like, and I always kind of think like big pet funerals and stuff like, or you would think probably, I always think, probably like Americans do like these huge pet funerals, but honestly, no, like this is like big pet funerals. Like these are in other countries like China and so forth, have these huge pet funerals. Other countries do these large pet funerals, which really amazed me. Right? I mean, look at how big these pet funerals are. And honestly, like they're not that common here. Like, you tell me, like, if you're like in other countries, do you see big pet funerals like this? Is that something that like you see? Well, I'll be honest, like I have a good friend of mine and she had a pretty decent sized funeral for her dog, and he was a pretty big dog. but yeah, they had a big decent funeral for their dog. But what are you doing? But yeah, I mean, they had a big pet funeral, and then but like stuff like this like would run like $2,000 for this, and then and that includes the burial and everything. And then let's see here. Also, I will tell you what, when I did my pet loss group, and I did not print out a picture of this out of like trigger warning. I did not print out a picture of this for trigger warning purposes. But there are people that will do the, they'll do like the, what is it at here? The freeze drying taxidermy and the actual taxidermy of their pets. That is a thing. Like small pets are usually anywhere from $500 to $1,000. Medium pets are from $1,000 to $250 or $2,500. And it was. I will be very transparent with you. I had 2 people in group, and they were very big into taxidermying. I'm sure it was like freeze drying their dogs, and they had them like freeze dried like in their little pet beds or whatever, and they did it probably like to 2 or 3 of their dogs. And you know, I respect everybody and whatever their wishes are, whatever they choose to do. But if I knew that they were coming to, group, sometimes, I mean, I knew the one time they brought one of them with them to show people. But usually when they would talk about it, you know, people's kind of natural reaction was like, yeah, you know, just because they're, you know, not used to it. Oh, wow. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's because I think it's just because it's like not common. But like I would, if I knew that they were coming to group, I would have to kind of prep people ahead of time, you know, and let them know that, hey, you know, this is what these people choose to do. So please just be respectful to them, because that's what they choose to do. That's how they choose to memorialize their pets. And granted, I mean, they were kind of used to people having kind of an awkward response to them. So that's, you know, I just kind of always like to prepare people so that they didn't have that awkward, you know, or they, you know, because some people just have no filter and they're not very polite to others. Now there's this other eco-friendly thing that the moderator and I were looking up. It's called aquamation. It's an alkaline hydrolysis, and it's this thing. You see it here. It's this top thing, and it's a cremation process, but it's in water. So it's supposed to be like this eco-friendly thing, and it's a cremation process, but it's in water, and it's for 6 to 8 hours. And you put the animal in there, and basically it's like the cremation process, but it's healthier for the environment, and it's basically like alkaline and so forth, and it has the same end result. Turns everything into like, you know, ashes and so forth. But it all goes through this alkaline process, and after 6 to 8 hours, it turns everything into it's a more gentle process to cremate pets. Yeah, but this machine, I was looking at this machine. This machine costs like almost $200,000 to do. But yeah, and it's supposed to be like a gentle process to cremate pets. I'd never seen anything like that. Um, and they also have like a um, let's see, what did it call? There was another thing where you could take them and they process them. It's basically it's like a germinate thing where they process them into like a soil thing and make them into a thing where it turns them into a tree. There's all sorts of eco things now where you can turns everything into natural stuff, and but that aqua thing was between 200 and 450 for a small to medium pet, and $1,000. $1,000 for a very large dog and exotic animals. Yeah, just interesting. A lot of interesting things you could do now. But it's also quite interesting how many, like, there's not that many pet cemeteries anymore. I looked up a pet cemetery in the area here that was going since I think it said 1912, and they're now shutting down. So I think pet cemeteries are not a thing that are staying around too much anymore, which is kind of sad. It said the one was no longer taking any more animals. They were just going to keep the grounds going. So, I mean, that was kind of sad. Yeah, there was a sad situation going on. But yeah, so there's a lot of different resources for these burial options. But I was looking, like I said, just to do, and people pay this stuff. I mean, like I said, we were looking at the different, pet funeral businesses. And like I said, my friend, she put out a pet funeral for her dog. And I mean, they had a viewing, they had obituaries, they had, there was like a Facebook page and everything. And, I mean, it was quite a thing. It was quite a thing. And, plots and all sorts of stuff. But yeah, it's $2,000. You can get a plot and headstone, and the one lady in my pet loss group, she had her cat buried in the one pet cemetery over here by her house, and I remember her. She was so broken up about the loss of that cat, and I had to go probably for 2 or 3 times within the past year of that cat passing, because she just couldn't bring herself to go visit where she had buried the cat in the pet cemetery. So I had to go and I would take pictures of the plot, and I'd put little things there and show her the pictures. And but she just had so much, she was so guilt ridden over the loss of that cat. And it just, I think, we beat ourselves up as pet parents sometimes, especially when we have so much of a control issue, because when we get these animals, we take on a huge role, right? We take on this huge role as their parent. And with that, it's day by day, it's something, right? It's something. And when something goes wrong, we're responsible no matter what. And we can't control everything, and we can't get that through our skulls sometimes, that sometimes it's not in our control. End of life is not in our control, no matter what. No matter what drugs are out there, it's not in our control. Sometimes the end is the end. And um, I don't think that that's the part that she was grasping, was that, this was the end is the end. And, at time there's just is not, there's not no amount of money, there's no amount of anything that is going to fix it. And so when everything fails, she thinks she failed, and that's not the case. It's not the case. It's just time is up. Time is up. So, that's. But I think that that's a part that we all go through. We all had to go through that guilt, and then reality slaps us in the face and says, wake up. Finally, or somebody slaps us and says, wake up. No, that's not right. Maybe it's your friendly, pet loss lady on YouTube that says, wake up. It's not, it's not your fault. But it's a hard pill to swallow to realize that we're not in control of everything. We're not in control of everything. We like to be. We like to think we are. But, and the internet tells us that we're responsible for everything. But they like to, tell us that, we should have been. Yeah, exactly. Slap. Or hell, if you ask the internet something, right? They'll tell, well, did you try this? Did you try that? Well, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? It's like, shut up. It's always something, right? You can't go to the internet for anything. Definitely can't go to WebMD for anything. You'll be dying on WebMD over anything. You have a cold, you'll be dying on WebMD. But, that's the thing. It's like, you can't, just go for, for advice on anything, because you'll always be doing something wrong. But not here. Not here. No matter what, you can only do what you can do, especially when it's end of life. That's all you can just do the best that you can do. So that's it. But I think now that, like I said, I'm kind of thinking, since we started at 8:30, I might just push it to 8, because, like I said, with my new work schedule, I think it'd be safe to start at 8 instead of 8:30. I think that would be probably better. It worked out a little bit more that I got home a little bit earlier. So I say that, and then I'll probably get home late next time. So, but this way I was able to rush out a little bit earlier. So it was kind of nice. But anyways, so our pets have they do have a short life, right? I mean, golly, it's such a bummer. I know, and it's like we have to enjoy them. We totally have to enjoy them. Yeah. And then you have Jolene coming in, and then she's gonna try to take care of your pets too. I don't care if she takes him, just don't take the pets, right? I think, because that would piss me off. That would piss me off more than taking him. As long as she leaves the pets, she can have him all she wants. Just leave the pets, right? Yeah, she can have him. Just leave the pets. I don't need her to take him. Let me get this candle lit. Who are we going to light the candle for tonight? Isn't that right, Rosie? Isn't that right, Rosie? Rosie. Should we light the candle, Rosie? Rehome the party? Yeah, exactly. See? Michelle gets it. Michelle gets it. Rosie. Rosie, we going to go out to New Zealand? Rosie's like, yes, we are. We're going to take it. Rosie's going to go out to New Zealand. Oh, hang on. All right, let me try to light this candle. Hang on. Not setting the house on fire, because that would be a bummer. Oops. My stupid. Oh. Bad if I light the house on fire. All right, let me get this candle lit. All right, put the names in the chat. Oh, hang on. All right, got the candle lit. So I had to old school matches because my lighter wasn't working. Light the candle for Dolly Parton. Pickle Puff. Oh, Pickle Puff. Aw, little Pickle Puff. Aw. Hi. Hi, Pud. Hi. 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 Oh. Oh. Oh, come here. Come here. Oh. You gonna say hi? Are you gonna say hi? Oh, thank you. Well, Rosie's here. Rosie's here. Rosie's staring Coco down because Rosie's eating. Yes, the bad potato. Hang on, let me put this up here. I see I have to put it up here. Oops, hang on. Let me move this here. So the candle is lit for all the ones. Let me put this over here. Oops, that have passed before. Oops. What's Rosie doing? Oh, I put her over here. All right, Rosie's over here because she's staring Coco down because Coco's got her bone now. You see her? She's staring. She's giving her the evil eye. Giving her the evil eye. Don't stare your sister down. Yes, we've got Cookie and yeah, she's giving her the evil eye. You giving the sissy the evil eye because she stole your bone. She's mad. She's mad. You're mad. I love you though. Well, Rosie made the book. Coco did not. Coco might make the next book. Yes, the cat. I know. I felt so bad for her. That made me so sad. I just read that before I got on here. Yeah, I just read that before I came on here. Yeah, ginger pepper. Yes. Yes. Sweet pea. Sammy, Daisy, Harley, all the snails. Yep. Oh boy. Well, Friday is Frenchie Friday, and that will be at 8 p.m. And then we will move. And then we will. I think. Yeah, true. That is not enough snails for the. Not enough candles for the snails. Yeah, and then we'll move. I think we'll move these back to 8 o'clock. I like 8 o'clock. So we'll keep it 8 o'clock for Tuesday, and then 8 o'clock for Friday. So yeah, 8 o'clock and 8 o'clock, 8 and 8. I think that'll be a good time for both. So yeah, I think that's a good time. So hopefully we'll have some updates on everything. I know, right? It is. I'm telling you what, like working like 10 hours and then I'm telling you, I've been pooped. Right? I've been like running on empty, trying not to look tired. So I'm trying to like look like, yay. But anyway, so, but I enjoy, no, but like I tell you what though, this is my favorite thing to do out of anything. So favorite thing to do, but I will be back on Friday and then Tuesday and then Friday and then Tuesday, 8 o'clock. Yeah, working 9 to 5. No, working working 7 to, well, actually working 6 to 5. Yeah, 6 to 5, and then on call 24 hours. Yeah, I'm on call 24 hours. So, and then I'm writing a book, and I'm writing a book, and then I'm trying to pass an Ohio act in with the state legislators. And then let's see, what else have I tried to do? Yeah, so I'm running on empty. That's what I'm trying to do. But anyway, so I will see everybody on Frenchie Friday. Thank you guys for spending your hour with me. You mean the world to me. If you don't have a friend, you have one now. Thank you so much. I appreciate each and every one of you. Have a wonderful, wonderful night. Please be safe. Please have a good night's sleep. And I will see everybody again on Friday. Have a good night. Good night, Jolene. Take him, Jolene. Bye. See you later. Bye. See you, Michelle. Bye, Anna.